Alright, this one is gonna hurt me to get into. I'm reconsidering everything. This is what this video is doing to me and I don't like it. The idea that anybody cannot like this book, I don't understand. This person is a Tamlin defender. You did not read the same book I did. Something's wrong with you and I hate this. I have to leave. First of all, I can't do this. Like, this is physically hurting me. Why did I think this was gonna be like a good, fun idea? I just got out of my reading slump like 2 days ago, and now that I'm in love with reading again, I want to talk about some of my favorite books, but I also want to see what other people think of my favorite books. Honestly, this probably isn't a good idea because I am severely I'm so passionate when it comes to my favorite books that I just don't think anything will top them. If there are books that I love that people don't like, it's like, how is that even possible? But we're gonna see that today. So if you guys don't follow me on Goodreads, you should go do that. It's just my name. But I love reading other people's reviews and I love updating my status on Goodreads because I love getting to see the page number and then it turns into the percentage and all of that. It's just, it makes my brain happy. I don't know how to explain it. I don't know why it does that, but it just makes my brain happy. I love Goodreads. I used to not like Goodreads at all, but now that I actually have friends that also use it, I love it. It's my favorite thing ever. So on Goodreads, you can leave reviews for books, you can see other people's reviews, you can make status updates, you can do all of that, and it's great. I love it. But you can also see people's reviews and you can sort them by the highest and the lowest. So today we're going to be looking at the lowest reviews of some of my favorite books, and I will probably get my feelings hurt, and that's okay. Actually, no, it's not. I'll probably be really sad. I should probably move this to this side of me. Please hold. I also picked some books that I think are like a little bit controversial because I think that'll be fun, and not controversial, but just have like a lot of mixed opinions. I'm talking about Magnolia Parks. We're gonna start off with Daisy Jones and the Six. This is one where I've heard a lot of really good things about it and I really enjoyed it, but it's also told in an interview format, so it's not written like a standard book. You can see it goes person talking and it'll be like a dialogue in a scene, but it's all of these like unreliable narrators, which I really enjoyed, and I thought that this was so unique and so interesting to read it that way, but I know other people hated that aspect. We're gonna read through, see what people's things are. There are 11,124 one-star reviews. To be fair, there's 1,346,898 reviews total, with an average of 4.22. I would rather read Twilight or a Colleen Hoover book, but then I remember they are just as bad. All the hype for this was so boring I didn't even finish it. Yikes. How? Genuinely, like literally how? I don't understand. I'm sorry, I know most people love this book. If you haven't read it yet but want to, you'll probably love it too. I felt like it was billed as a coming-of-age story with a strong female lead, and we would follow her as she worked her way into the music industry and to become an icon. I was incredibly disappointed it's not that. That is true. It is not that. Whenever the show was coming out, in the earlier trailers, it looked so like glitz and glam, and yes, like a little messy, but I don't think that it showed as much of like how dangerous her life was and how things actually were. Compensate for the lack of character and plot development. I don't know why people wanted Daisy and Billy to be together as if he wasn't married. Camilla wasn't just his girlfriend, she was his wife of several years with 3 kids, and Daisy was a dumpster fire. Not for me. I didn't like the premise from the beginning. Yeah, it's like, this book is very heavy. There's a lot of substance abuse. There's a lot of really like dark things. None of the characters are really that likable. I think that's what I enjoy about Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing so much. It feels realistic and it feels like the characters are more real and raw. I know that it's messy and I know that a lot of people don't like that in books, but I know that some people absolutely do love it. And I loved it. Predictably boring with flat interchangeable characters. Do yourself a favor and watch Almost Famous instead. I don't know what that is. So, okay, no, actually, you know what? I do agree with this one. If it wasn't because it made me feel so much because Taylor Jenkins Reid is a genius with words. Seriously, the amount of quotes I got from this book, magic. And because some parts made me feel so much, it would be 1 star. That is my, like, entire thing, is it made me feel so much, and I think about it all the time, and I think about all these characters all the time, and all the writing and everything. It left me, like, empty in a good way. You know what? I do pretty much agree with this. Although, I will say that people saying that there's no character development and any of that, I think that they want it to be, like, tied up in a bow. And that's not what this is, and that's not what a lot of her books are. They're complicated, and they're messy, and they're kind of, like, icky, and they don't leave you feeling great, honestly. And if that's what you're looking for, you're not going to find it in this. In my opinion, to say that it doesn't have character development, I don't agree with. It's showing people struggling with addiction and substance abuse and family issues and their own stuff and trauma and overcoming that, and all of these people are messy, and, like, yes, there are some people that just, like, don't get character development. Daisy, who is our main girl, she is a hot mess and she is a dumpster fire, but at the end, she doesn't want to be. Next up is The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I love Jennifer Lynn Barnes' writing, and I love the concept of this. I don't know if I really, like, actually enjoy this book or what. I read this earlier this year, and this was before I really started my reading journey, but it was one of the things that did push me into reading more, so that's why it probably holds a special place in my heart. So I'm kind of interested to see what other people think of it. If you guys don't know what this is about Avery Grams, who comes from absolutely nothing, and one day, she's 17 years old, she gets swept up into the world of the Hawthorns and is told that she is the heiress to Tobias Hawthorne's fortune, and they have no idea why. I have no idea what I rated this, but I know that I really enjoyed the characters. And again, this isn't one where it's like, oh, this book is so good. It's this series is really good, and I really like her writing, and I enjoyed the characters. This one has 589,232 ratings with an average of 4.19. Sophia says, I too will be expecting a surprise $1 billion inheritance as compensation for how much I suffered while reading this. This is just a modern take on white girl is very special, but no one knows why, and has to choose between 2 virtually identical white boys who are both in love with her for some reason. Whatever will she do? Also, I don't care about billionaires. Can someone give me 5 reasons as to why I read this? They said it would be like Knives Out. I wanted Knives Out. It gave me Truly Devious and Paper Princess. They lied to me. I haven't watched Knives Out, so I have nothing to say for that. What in the Vampire Diaries, but without Vampire Diaries, is going on? I should be paid for not DNFing this. I will say, like, my big thing about The Inheritance Games is that I wish that we got more of an explanation on why Avery got the inheritance. But I do love the series, and I do think it's a really cool concept as well. If you're going into this for, like, a thriller or an intense mystery, it's not that. It's very much like a young adult. There's mystery in it, but it's not, like, very thrilling. It's not edge of your seat type deal. Reading these reviews are making me realize that I either have bad taste or I don't know. Like, I know that that's not true because I'm reading other things, but I'm thinking about all of these and I'm like, wait, should I reread them? Because I have no memory of what I thought of them. Like, I remember enjoying it, but I have no idea why. Next up is A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. This one I know I enjoyed. I gave this a 5-star. It's not a 5-star, but I put it on Goodreads as 5 stars. This one has an average of 4.35. It has 852,700 ratings. I made a Goodreads account just so I could give this book 1 stars. Stop. From the moment she said holy pepperoni, I realized I was too old to be reading this book. I will say, this is very young adult. It's very young. I enjoy it. I think that it's good, but it's like, it's not lyrical. I like the idea, and I love Pip, and I love Ravi, and I'm super excited for the show. But I will say that the second book is probably my favorite. One thing that I do really love about the Good Girl's Guide to Murder series is that you can stop reading after the first one and, like, you're fully wrapped up. And you can stop reading after the second one and you're fully wrapped up. You can still keep going, And it doesn't feel like it's beating a dead horse or anything like that. It's good and it's fun and I enjoy it. Next up is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston? Whatever. I actually finished this last night, and this one took me a really long time to read. Not because I didn't enjoy it or anything, but just because I was in a reading slump. So it took me, I don't even know how long it took me to read, like over a month, I think. You can see I tabbed it, and I loved the writing in this. I thought it was so pretty. I also love the cover. But the quotes were really great. I loved the love story. I do think, though, that in my head, by about this point in the book, things were kind of like explained, and then this was just all resolution. You know? So I think that was also part of why I didn't want to, why I wasn't like continuing to pick it back up, because I didn't feel like I needed to know what happened, because I felt like things were already like pretty figured out. And I think that the writing honestly saved this for me because it was so pretty. But I can also see why a lot of people maybe wouldn't like this book as much. This one has 50,172 ratings with an average of 4.3 stars. DNF because what the fuck happened to the stakes? Low, verging on non-existent is what they were. There was zero tension, no angst, doesn't need to be war and peace, but a lack of conflict will have me falling asleep. Yeah. I didn't connect to Clementine at all. She was uninteresting, and because I didn't understand how her aunt's death affected her, I couldn't connect. I understood she was upset, depressed, etc., but how has her life changed since her aunt died? How has it changed her as a person? I feel like if you like whimsical, low-stake books like this, you will be about it. I feel like I've been reading so much with heavy conflict that it just kind of, that was probably my biggest issue with it as well. Slow, boring, and forced. I will say I do agree with a lot of these things. Cute premise, didn't connect to the characters or feel any connection between the love interest. He was simply there one day and she was automatically infatuated. No. Okay. Girl, Ashley, you and me, we're on the same, oh fudge, okay, I found it, we're good. I got to chapter 13 before in-depth skimming ahead to every chapter that contained a decent emotional scene between the two romantic interests. So I don't know whether to call this book a DNF, since I feel like I read the whole thing. I enjoyed the premise of the story, and the scenes that specifically delved into the direct exploration of that premise were worth a read, but every other scene felt so generic, almost like an insert common tropey filler plot here phenomenon. I had no attachment to the secondary characters because they were hardly explored, and any interactions that they had with the main character seemed superficial and unimportant. The plot of this book definitely gave me the vibe of things just happening because they're happening. No rhyme or reason other than so that the author can force the characters to do what she wants to do without doing the work to get the reader on board and to a place where the progression of events makes sense and gives a sense of the stakes being raised. The line between strangers and romance was crossed so quickly, and it seemed out of nowhere and not a natural step at all. The conflict seemed forced and in an example of insert generic plot device here. I can say I've never talked about a book like this, and with all the critiques that I have on one. I almost found it difficult to describe my experience of it and couldn't, and likely still can't put a finger on all the ways that it felt lacking for me. But the premise and the select few decent romantic scenes gives it a 1 star, even if it's more like a 1.5. I will say, for me personally, I gave it a 4.5, but now I'm like, wait a minute. I'm reconsidering everything. This is what this video is doing to me, and I don't like it. I don't like it. I don't like what this is. I don't like what's happening right now. I want to stick to my brain. I want to stick to being alone, and I want to get out of the controversial ones because I'm scared now. I'm also like, I want to say that not all of these books and most of these books are not 5 stars for me. I think there's one book here that is a genuine full 5 stars. No. 2? I get really specific with my ratings, and I know that people hate that. I know that they're like, why are you giving it a 4.75? And I'm like, because it was so good, but it's just not quite a 5-star, changed the brain chemistry type deal. But we're gonna jump around from this pile. Alright, this one is gonna hurt me to get into because The idea that anybody can not like this book, I don't understand. I'm gonna read 1-star reviews of The Ballad of Never After. And if you gave this a 1 star, I just want to know how, I want to know why, and I want to know what's wrong with you. Like, do you just hate happiness? Do you hate fun? I said, is this a joke? You could inject this into my bloodstream and it still wouldn't be enough. This one has an average of This one has an average of 4.56 stars and 133,869 reviews. Girl, be so for real. This is gonna, okay. The only good thing that this book did was remind me to dye my hair pink again. I've read picture books more intense than this. I don't even know what he is. I'm so desperate to figure out what people see in Jax. He doesn't have any personality. Zilch, zero, nada. First of all, what's wrong with you? All he does is eats apples, and arguably the most boring fruit out there, so it's fitting for him, I guess. I love apples, first of all. Also, that is like prime story, like fairy tale. Why is this categorized as a romance when there is none? Did we read the same book? They severely lack chemistry? Are you kidding? Who? Did we read the same book? I just don't think that we read the same book, because for you to say that they lack chemistry, and for you to say that Jax has no personality, you did not read the same book I did. Something's wrong with you, and I hate this. If the world loves Eva Jax, then I'm against the world. Yeah, you are. And you're against me. You're my #1 enemy. No. Like, it's not supposed to be high stakes. It's not. Yes, it's a love story. Yes, there's romance, and leave Jax alone. I don't like this. This hurts my feelings. It's okay, they don't understand you like I do. Hoping for a Jax depth throat? Are you kidding? Somebody said, Once Upon a Broken Heart was an absolute masterpiece. I don't know what happened here. See, that's me about A Curse for True Love, but about this book, I don't like this. I don't like you guys. Leave me alone. Next is A Court of Wings. Nope. A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. This one was one of the first, like, fantasy books that I read in a while. I mean, I read A Court of Thorns and Roses, and then Fourth Wing, and then Mist and Fury, and I really loved it. I also read it in June, and I read it all, like, back to back. I don't know, you guys scare me. Just so you know, I don't appreciate this. I don't appreciate people not liking the same books that I do. This is stressing me out. This one has an average of 4.64, which deserved, and has 1,435,272 ratings. The more I think about it, the more I realize I didn't enjoy anything about this book, so it's more suited to be a 1 star. This book was 600 plus pages of slog to get through. I understand how people consider the sequel to be an improvement since the main character shows more agency and certain tropes were reversed, but the development was very on the nose and came at the expense of turning other characters into cartoonish villains. Okay, so first of all, you're talking about Tamlin, and if you've read the first book, you already see bits of that version of Tamlin. It's just Pharaoh was a human and wanted that. Dialogue mostly consisted of the main character asking questions, which would result in other people answering via several pages of monologues in order to tell the exposition and characters' backstories. That's true. This would be fine if I cared about anything in the book at all, but I don't. See, I do care about the book, which is why I'm okay with it. People hyped this book up to be some trashy erotica, but there were only like 2 sex scenes towards the end. True. That is true. I mean, there was like a lot of tension going on for like a lot of the book. This person is a Tamlin defender. I have to leave. I have to leave. I don't like being mean, but this book does. Just so you guys know, I hate everything about this. I hate this video. I want it to be over. We're doing one more book, and then we're calling it. We're gonna do Magnolia Parks, because can I even handle this? I want to be done. Can I just stop right now? I can't do this. Like, this is physically hurting me. Why did I think this was gonna be, like, a good, fun idea? This is awful and I hate it. Magnolia Parks by Jessa Hastings. It's a very frustrating read. The characters are very frustrating, but I love them. I love complex characters, and I don't think that a lot of people do. Next up, it's not Twisted Love, it's Twisted Games, which is the second book in the series, but I don't have it, so I'm showing you this one. I just really liked the whole princess vibe. It was fun. Leave me alone. I'm like angry now. Next up was All In by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. This one was my favorite in the series. At this point I was so attached to all of the characters. I loved the setting of it, and I loved how it kept showing like the crumbs that we would then get in Bad Blood. Heartless by Elsie Silver. I am not a big fan of single dad tropes, kids in books. I love forced proximity. Why would I say that? I'm not a huge fan of it, or I didn't think that I would be, but this book changed my life. I loved it. I cried. And I think it's also because Willa and the son Luke, I think so. But anyway, the way that she interacts with him just warms my little heart. As somebody who's very much like family's chosen, me with my stepdad, that's Willa and Luke. I put Shattered Me by Tahara Mafi in here. It's more of this series, like not this first book, but this entire series, especially with the novellas, because you get so much more. So if you guys are reading this book, make sure that you're reading the novellas as well, because it genuinely adds so much more of the characters and all the side characters and all of that, and you get to understand them and know them and all of that. I just finished Ignite Me, and that pulled me out of my slump because I felt something and because I cared. And then lastly, Happy Place by Emily Henry. This is the first Emily Henry book that I've ever read, and I'm going to be reading more soon. I have Book Lovers, I have Beach Read. Beach Read is literally right here. But I really enjoyed this one. I read this on the plane to California, and I just ate it up. It was honestly like, it was really good. It was very sad, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was good. So again, if you don't like Emily Henry's writing, it's more of like an emotional book, honestly. I do think that it didn't give great explanation on a lot of things, but I really enjoyed it. And yeah, now that I've read more, I feel like some of these aren't my favorite books, but I decided that they were my favorites when I read them, and I'm still reading more books now. So the one that is 100% my favorite is The Ballad of Never After, and the fact that anybody hates it, like, you can tell that hurt my soul. I hate it. I just want to go home. I am home. And don't get me wrong, I did not love A Curse for True Love. So it's not like I'm just blind and like I can't admit when things aren't great, because I can, and that was really disappointing, and that hurt me in my bones. But this, to say that this is not a romance, to say that they have no chemistry, to say that Jax has no personality, to say that he's boring, we didn't read the same book. There's just no way that we read the same book. You're either wrong, I'm sorry, it's okay to be wrong, but I wouldn't know. Bye, I'll see you tomorrow.